to live a holy and life of freedom from sin, which means, as St. Paul says, from the very foundation of the world, the Lord has called us to be holy and immaculate, to be holy and without sin. And so for our founder, he wanted us to be a community that proclaims this truth, that reminds people that our vocation is to be holy and truly be immaculate for all of us. This is God's will. This is why the Lord came to earth. This is why he became one of us, because he wanted us to be people that understand and realize that our vocation is for all eternity to be with God. Yes, on earth here, yes, we have to do things, we have to live, because that's how God made us. But ultimately, our vocation is that goes beyond. And so that the Lord wanted to have all humanity to share in that holiness of God. And that holiness means purity. Holiness means being godlike in every way. So what we see here is that our founder wanted the mystery of the Immaculate Conception to be a distinguishing mark of us as Marians. Yes, broken as we are by sin, but he wanted us to have this constant support from Our Lady. Mary, you console, you comfort, you sustain, and you raise up the oppressed. You raise up those who weep, those who are tempted, those who are weighed down. O sweet Virgin, show us Jesus, the blessed fruit of your life. This was his desire. They will call upon Our Lady for both comfort and guidance. Inspired by God's love, Blessed Stanislaus burned with a strong passion for the salvation of souls. He wanted everyone to come to know the Lord. Turn back, he says, turn back now to your Father. Why do you wander through the distant land of passions, deprived of the loving sentiments of the supreme God? Go to your Father. Christ is calling you. Go to him. Very, very concrete expressions of a call. To those who wounded, because, he realized how many people were wounded. They're affected by alcohol at that time, affected by war, by very difficult conditions. And he wanted to always console them with hope, that help is there. Help, that he wanted to help them to recover their dignity, broken dignity. This is what he says. Divine love impelled our founder to become the apostle to the simple, to the poor, the socially marginalized, whose spiritual needs were overlooked. And he wanted to do so, to teach them by word, by example, that sobriety and inner freedom are effective antidote against all the forms of dependence. This is his teaching. That if we turn to the Lord, turn completely to him, he gives us this freedom. But we have to call upon him. In so many ways, says, if you are burdened with sin, call to our Lord, and he will grant you this grace. If you're filled with sin, and if you're filled with all kinds of anxieties, fears, call upon the Lord. Don't sit there and be tormented by them. Call upon whatever's going on inside. Call upon, because then the Lord can grant you these gifts. If we just kind of mope around and feel the misery, and feel like there's nothing I can do, my life has dealt me with all kinds of, poor abilities or whatever it may be. He says, no, he says, turn back, to realize who you are. God is there for you. God can grant you those graces. He will be there for you. But he wants us to also extend our care for those who are dying. Not only did he love the Immaculate Conception, but he also had deep awareness of people who are dying and those who are dead. They need our assistance. Those who are dying, so they will be prepared for death by our faith, by the sacraments, by our encouragement, by reminding them that life goes beyond the grave, that God is there to help us, but also that we would extend our care for those suffering in purgatory. He prayed fervently for the souls and exhorted everyone to do the same. And finally, what he wanted us to do is to be zealous witnesses to Christ, be zealous witnesses, and be powerful instruments of salvation and a visible sign of Christ's infinite love and mercy for one another. So to be witnesses. And finally, his love was for the community, and he says the following: out of love we are to perform every good and escape every evil. Out of love we are to exercise every virtue possible, detest every vice and sin. Out of love we are to bear every hardships, affliction, calumny. So out of love and having this great trust in God and His mercy, trust in the intercession of Our Lady. And finally, I would like to say is that, our founder, even though he was born over 300, it's going to be almost 400 years very soon, because in 1631 and 2031 it'll be 400 years. But he was known to help not only people with healing, all kinds of healing, but he also, throughout his life, was known as someone who would raise people from the dead. And it was only in the last 20 years that he was able to do something where medical science would prove that he was capable of doing it through the power and intercession of Our Lady and through his trust in God. As you know, the first miracle that was approved, and that took place in the year 2001, but he was beatified. The miracle, the first miracle, was a lady, a young woman, who was not able to hold children. She already had a couple miscarriages, and so she was pregnant, but she had complications with her pregnancy, and so she was admitted to a hospital where the ultrasound showed a live fetus with a heartbeat at the beginning, but then subsequently she went through difficulties, and she lost a child in the womb. Once again, we have ultrasound, which showed that the baby, that fetus, died, shriveled up. The uncle was the one who was praying for her. And when she told her uncle, he says, "Don't pray anymore because I have lost the child." The doctors told her to come back 4 days later after, so that the body would expel the fetus. But when she returned to the hospital, the doctor wanted to locate where that fetus was, so he did another ultrasound, and that ultrasound showed that the baby was alive. It was not only heartbeat, but it was alive. So that's the first miracle. The Holy See had a hard time approving this miracle because this is like first time a medical science is proving someone who is being brought back to life. And so they asked the doctors 4 times. They kept calling them back and forth to the Holy See because they were afraid to make a statement that someone could actually rise from the dead in a womb. But so it happened. By the way, I met the boy. At that time, he was almost 17 years old during the canonization of Saint Stanislas, and he was a kind of interesting fellow, kind of shy, loves sports, loves soccer, just kind of being a normal guy, But the Lord brought him back to life through the intercession of our founder, and our intercession relied completely on Our Lady, on her Immaculate Conception. That's the first miracle. The second miracle was a recipient of the second miracle was a lady named Barbara. She was a 20-year-old young woman. She was preparing for marriage, but she developed a double pneumonia and was hospitalized. But not only that, She had this very unusual respiratory distress syndrome. She was in ICU, and that bacteria began to completely destroy her lungs. So her lungs were destroyed, like 90% of her lungs were destroyed. And without lungs, she went into sepsis, septic condition, and there's really no way. The doctor said, there's nothing I can do. She's coming to an end. As you know, there's no exchange of oxygen, and lungs do not function. People die. And so once again, it was her mom and her boyfriend, as well as the father, began this novena to our founder. And once again, she was healed completely. Her lungs were restored, as though she was just a newborn. Once again, that miracle was accepted by the Holy See. We are all called by the Lord. Yes, we honor our founder today, St. Stanislaus of Jesus and Mary, but we're all called by the Lord to be servants of God, to be friends of God, to look forward into the future, And that future is special